Hey guys, yeah, sorry for that little uh, uh, what's the word I'm looking for? That little interruption, if you will. Basically, it seems that I had to start a new live stream to get rid of another live stream that the computer thought I was still thought I was still doing. That's what happens when you implement software studio like OBS Studio, which is a good software. Don't get me wrong. It's just that it does screw you up just a little bit as I adjust this a little bit to look a little higher. There we go. But yeah, it does kind of screw you up a little bit to where you to the point that you got to redo things, if you will. But anyway, guys, welcome to the topics on my mind live cast, if you will, podcast, if you will, well, audio podcast down the line later on. But yeah, welcome. And we got a lot of topics to talk about today as I get ready to link this to other sites as well. But we got a lot of topics to talk about today, guys. Just a ton of them. But before we do, I'm gonna definitely want to let you know that, of course, super chats are open if you want to donate. Um, and be extremely welcomed and appreciated if you want to do that. Secondly, my Patreon is fully activated now. Basically, I do have two Patreon supporters. That is New Jersey Artist and Mandu, I think Mandu. They are helping me out with the support of $3, the $3 tier. The Patreon tiers are $1 for just helping out and getting a recognition shout out, like with New Jersey Artist and Mandu. The $3 tier is the same thing. You get recognition and a shout out, as well as not only will you be helping the brand or helping expand my brand or my channel, whatever you want to call it, but you also get exclusive content. That's right, you will get exclusive content you can't get anywhere else. And as I've mentioned before, what that content is basically me going more in depth, more kind of unfiltered, uncut about things that I've subtly talked about on a public basis here on my YouTube channel. Through the Patreon exclusives, you could hear me full out say what I was trying to kind of talk about, more, like I said, more unfiltered, more uncut, if you will, as the time as if you choose, basically, if you choose to support the brand, that is up to you. But yeah, that's basically what you'll get. You'll be able to. I mean, if you go with, like I said, if you go with the $1 deal, like I said, if you go with the $1 deal, that's up to you. It's no big deal, if you will. But if you decide to go with that, again, like I said, that's up to you. Um, but yeah, but basically, like I said, um, the the Patreon allows you to um, have access. If you go to $3 route, have access to other things as well. Like I said, other things as well. Again, for example, like I said, the videos that you can't get anywhere else, you could get through the Patreon support if you choose to do that down the line. That's totally your choice. I'm not going to say you have to do it. It's just like it's an option if you want to do it. We'll put it that way. It's an option if you choose to do it. It's there for you to do. It's $3 a tier for the recognition as well as the exclusive content that you can't get anywhere else. And it's only $1 if you just want to help out and get a shout out as well. New Jersey artists, for example, started out with $1, and then as soon as I put um, the $3 tier in there with the exclusive content, they helped me out with that as well. And Mandu is helping me out with the $3 as well. So definitely check them out, or definitely check out those tiers if you choose to. If you choose to basically want to to support my channel, to support my brand, and all that. So there is that, if you will. I'm just checking something here real quickly, guys. But yeah, go ahead and check that out if you want to do that. That's up to you. And hello, Gino Morgan TV. Nice to see you in the live chat. But yeah, go ahead and check that out if you want to do that. That's totally, like I said, up to you. Like I said, it's a dollar tier to help out, get a shout out, nothing more. But like I said, if you want to get the shout out as well as help expand the brand and get the exclusive content, the $3 tier is also open. As I mentioned in the updated video when I said I was going into the $3 route with the exclusive content, I did say that if this does succeed, if I do get enough support behind it, I might open up the $5 tier, and that might be something of the Q&A perspective. So if you want me to do a Q&A, get the word out, get some people to help support the brand, if you will. Support my Patreon to help me out in the long run, if you will. Again, I would greatly appreciate it. And as you can see, I am wearing, just to let you guys know, this is a new, well, it's not totally new, but it's a semi-new t-shirt I got off eBay. This is a BabsCon 2016 official t-shirt. And when I got it, I did wash it. Don't worry, I did wash it just to be on the safe side. Um, but yeah, it's an official T-shirt from BabsCon 2016, and you go to the BabsCon online store, which is its main headquarters, if you will, is located within the UK or something like that. But mostly stateside, I believe. You could get this as well as other official merchandise of like different years of the con and all that. Which unfortunately, this year, and hello Z Tails 327, nice to see you in the chat. Unfortunately, this year, BabsCon will not be a physical in-person event. Just like last year, because of what's going on with the pandemic, the fact that, and hold on. I don't know who that is. I mean, look at this. I don't know who that is. Do you? But anyway, like I said, unfortunately, BabsCon is not going to be happening this year as a physical in-person event because of the fact that we're still kind of in what I would consider the final months of the final run, the final leg of this pandemic. So as soon as this final leg, passes and all that, this final phase, if you will, next year should be clearly open and everything for BabsCon to return, if you will. And I'm just checking something with my seat here. Here we go. But like I said, BabsCon should be able to return with a physical in-person event next year. But yeah, unfortunately, it's not going to happen this year. But if you want to get a T-shirt like this, you could try looking on eBay. This is how I got mine. But you could also look at, the BabsCon online store to check that out as well. But like I was saying, basically, basically, like I was saying, super chats are open, as well as my Patreon, which is linked in the description as well. Patreon.com/BWRosas. Those are the places you can go to help support my content, support my channel, support my content and what I do. Like I said, with the Patreon, it's $1 just to help out if you want to get a recognition and a shout out. And it's $3 if you want to get the recognition and shout out, as well as help expand the brand and also get exclusive content you can't get anywhere else. Like I said, more in-depth discussion of things I've kind of subtly talked about in the past here on my YouTube channel publicly. So if you want to do that, it'd be greatly appreciated. Link is in the description, and hopefully after this live stream is done, I will edit it and it will be at the end of the video, so you guys could check that out as well. But now let's get on to the topics we're going to discuss today. And these are very, very interesting. You probably see them in the description. But the first topic we're going to talk about today will be about asking a question, because one of the local news that gets broadcast on YouTube, basically they have clips that they show on YouTube, just like any national or local news does. One of them, I think it was out of Jacksonville, brought up a discussion of the possibility that, the 1,400 that you may be getting, or around that, depending on what your income is, if you're eligible, well, that money may or may not head your way. We'll talk about that we'll talk about that, because the first topical question, or the first topic we're going to ask and try to answer is, will you get your $1,400 stimulus check? $1,400 stimulus check, your $1,400 stimulus check. We'll talk about that, trying to answer that. Also, number two, the men's NCAA bracket, or the men's NCAA 60-18 bracket, official, or is it? We'll talk about that for those of you that like watching the NCAA tournament at this time of year. Number three, we'll talk about animated show pilot rewrites done by fans, and basically, are they done better? And what I'm talking about is a couple of things that have been shared with me recently. We'll get into that as well. And then number four, WWE wants to pack WrestleMania, this year's WrestleMania, that is, with 75% capacity of fans for both nights of this year's WrestleMania. So basically, WWE has plans to do something bigger than originally planned. We'll get into that. Number five, will we near 100% capacity, or will we near 100% capacity will near 100% capacity be possible by the 4th of July? I kind of reworded it otherwise here in the live chat, or in the description. I'll have to switch that over later. But yeah, basically number five is, will we near 100% capacity be possible by the 4th of July, if you're reading the description version. But yeah, will we near 100% capacity will near 100% capacity be possible by the 4th of July? We'll talk about that. Number six is really interesting. Miss Piggy next on cancel culture's hit list. We'll talk about that. That's really gotten people some talking, especially if you're a Muppets fan. Number seven, all 90s Sonic cartoons on Paramount Plus. We'll get into that if you're a Sonic fan. And then last but not least, we will talk about the DuckTales 2017 series finale that airs today/tonight, and what to expect. So, yeah, got a lot to talk about here, guys. And again, thank you for joining me for this live stream. And if not, thank you for joining me post live stream afterwards, when this is officially fully uploaded, as well as converted to audio for the audio portion of what the podcast, or audio version of the podcast, that will be uploaded later on. So anyway, let's start with the first topic here, and that is, will you get your 1,400 stimulus check? Now, as we all know, this past week, President Joe Biden officially signed into law the new stimulus package that has already, for some people, been directly deposited into the bank accounts, as well as this also includes a $300 extension on unemployment checks, which basically means that for some of you, like myself, that around this time frame have been given sort of the yellow, I wouldn't say yellow, but the yellow light, or red light, or whatever you will, basically the warning light, or the kind of like, I guess you could say the razor's edge kind of light, if you will, of basically being told, hey, you've maxed out your benefits and you can't reapply until the year expires, which is kind of crazy. Now, I'm sure a lot of you, like me, have gotten some kind of notice in from your state's EDD stating that you might be, if not are, eligible for the extension, which I think a lot of us will be, because I don't think Biden and the Democrats want to make themselves look like hypocrites or anything like that, or any of the unemployment agencies around this country want to make themselves look like hypocrites or anything if they don't allow the 300 to be, given to the people that need it, as well as an extension on the unemployment, because honestly, these are unprecedented times that we're in, and a lot of us could use a little extra here and there, along with the additional 1,400 stimulus. But speaking of the stimulus again, there was as I mentioned at the beginning here, there is a local news outlet out of Jacksonville, I believe, that was doing a story on the possibility that you may not get your 1,400 stimulus check or something around that, depending on your income, because unlike the other two stimulus packages we got, this one, well, there's a little bit of a negative caveat to it. That negative caveat is unlike the last two stimulus packages, from what I understand, this one will not be protected from garnishment. That's right. It will not be protected from garnishment. So if you're expecting a 1,400 stimulus check or something around that, depending on your situation, whether you're married, you have kids, or whatever, if you're expecting that, according to this report out of Jacksonville, there is a possibility that if they choose to do so, a lot of debt collectors could, a lot of debt collectors could, and this is the truth, could garnish your stimulus money. They could. Now I know some people. And here's the thing: I shared this with some people at the neighborhood watches around Stanislaus County, like Patterson and Newman, and some gave a thumbs up, some said it's fake and all that. And it might be fake, who knows? Maybe somebody just threw that out there for the local Jacksonville news to say or something like that, or to get people talking in Jacksonville of, hey, did you know that this might happen and all that? So I don't know. I mean, some people I'm pretty sure are thinking, oh, it's just a Republican trick that they just wanted to get the word out there that, hey, you see this loophole in here that the Democrats put? This means you may not get your money, just to make them look bad. And that might be the case. We're not saying it is. Oh, no one's saying it is. But the point that I'm getting at is this it does raise some questions of whether or not it's true or it isn't true. Because if it is true, if it's slightly true, then that is something to be kind of worried about. Because obviously, the question that a lot of people will be asking is, well, if my check is going to be garnished by my debt collectors or my credit card collectors or whoever, then what was the point of giving it to us anyway if we're not going to get it? You know. So basically, the the that the big question mark is above this whole situation. Like, yeah, everybody's getting the stimulus. Some, like I said, have already got it directly deposited, and some are going to be having it mailed out by the end of the month. But the question is, will they get it? And here's my honest opinion: I think those that will have their checks mailed directly to them, like for me, until I do my taxes, until I file my taxes, I will not get my stimulus check directly deposited into my bank account. Instead, my stimulus will be directly mailed to me like the last one was. And I think that's the benefit that a lot of people would look into right now, because at least, if it's not directly deposited into a bank account, there's less of a chance that it could get garnished by debt collectors and all that. Not saying it couldn't, because it still could. But I think what a lot of people are looking at is, hey, if we get our checks directly deposited to us, or directly mailed to us, I should say, physically, in our hands, we should be all right. And I think a lot of us will be. But again, this is a report that was brought out by Jacksonville, one of the Jacksonville news outlets. You can check it out here on YouTube. And basically, it does raise the questions, not just for, Jacksonville, Florida, but for the rest of the country. Is there any truth to this? Because if there is truth, then again, a lot of people are going to be asking the question of, what was the point? What was the point of giving us, this stimulus package if most of it, if not all of it, is going to be taken by somebody that it doesn't belong to? That it doesn't, it's not originally intended for. So so it's going to be interesting. Now, I talked this over with my mom and the rest and my family as well, and they've all agreed that nothing's going to happen. We're all still going to get it, and that this is just something brought up to kind of stir trouble, controversy, get people talking. Because honestly, nowadays the news media, and I say this with all due respect, depending on who you listen to, is hard to believe, anything they say. So, whether or not there is truth to this or there's no truth to it, it does bring up the question of whether or not this is something we have to keep an eye out for. Because when they talked to some people in Jacksonville about it, not a lot of them were happy about, this possibility, occurring of, them, expecting something and then not getting nothing because it got garnished. I mean, I know honestly that when I was expecting, some taxes a couple of years ago, a tax return that, a couple of years ago, that didn't come to me. Instead, it went to what I owed. It went to what I was owed from a debt perspective. So, who's to say that, this won't happen here with these, with the stimulus? Because the one thing that this report pointed out was, you know, like I was saying earlier, the last two stimulus packages had a protection against garnishment. This one does not. So it's going to be really interesting on what occurs in the next week or so, in the next several weeks, depending on how people get their money. Because if they don't get nothing, and they get some kind of letter saying, "Oh, you're 1,400 or 2,600, whatever the case may be, 2,800. Oh, the reason you didn't get it was because this debt collector took it to pay up what you owed." If people get a letter like that instead of a physical check, there's going to be a lot of answering. There's going to be a lot of explaining to do on Joe Biden and his administration's part, especially the Democrats, because it's going to be like, well, wait a minute. You said we were going to get this, but you said nothing about us losing it to these debt collectors. So hopefully that doesn't happen, and hopefully with Biden, when he goes on this tour, whatever he's going to do, better explains, better explains that the stimulus we're getting will not be garnished. Because I guarantee you, that's a question a lot of people are going to be asking him. The first thing that's going to come out of a lot of people's mouths is, we heard about this report that our stimulus might be garnished by debt collectors. Is that true? They're going to want an answer. They're going to want an answer, and I guarantee you, he's going to have to give some kind of an answer to make sure that people are not worried about that possibility being a reality. I don't think it is. There was one person that responded at the Patterson Neighborhood Watch Uncensored, the Patterson, California Neighborhood Watch Uncensored Facebook page, who said it was fake news and that they owed a lot to people and they still got their money. So we'll have to see what happens. But again, if anything occurs, if anything happens to where instead of getting a check, people get a letter saying, "Oh, that 1,400 or 2,800 you were owed or was supposed to come to you, that actually went to pay for your debts to this place or that place." If something like that occurs, like I said, Biden and his Democratic administration are going to have a lot to explain. And because of that, I think what's going to happen is we will probably get one more stimulus package equal to this. And that time around, if that occurs, then that will have a protection on it. That will. If anything happens here, I can guarantee you, almost guarantee you, that before this year's out, we'll get one more stimulus and it will have a protection on it. That's what will happen. Or he will have to come out during his tour and basically make it clear to the debt collectors to keep their hands off the stimulus money owed to everybody. Because if word gets around that if any debt collectors got it, he'll make sure something is done about it. Hopefully, but we'll see. And you know what this really does as well? This really puts the trust. It really tests the trust of those that wanted Biden in office. This will really test the trust of those that wanted President Biden in office to see whether or not they made the right decision or they didn't. So this is a big test for not only Joe Biden, but for those, and I say this with all due respect, those that wanted him in there instead of keeping Trump in. So we'll see. We shall see. But anyway, enough of that. Let's get on to our next topic, which is the men's NCAA tournament 68 team bracket is official, or is it? Yeah, there's some information about that we have to go over, and I'm going to bring out the bracket right here because I printed it out along with some other information. And let me get my glasses on, if you will. And let me check something real quickly, guys, while I do all this. Okay, everything seems to be good. Okay, everything seems to be good. All right, so this is the 68 team bracket here. And we got the first 4 teams that'll be playing on the 16th, I believe. Or is it the 18th? Maybe I need to get a better picture of this. Hold on, guys. I won't do that. Hold on. Here we go. So let me get the brackets up here for a moment. So I can get a better look at it. Got a PDF file for it on the NCAA. So let's see what we got here. So the first matchups that we got for Thursday, March 18th, will be the 2 number 16 teams. We have 4 number 16 teams in there. We have Texas Southern against Mount St. Mary's. That'll be the first one. And then following that, we will have Drake and Wichita State, which are the 2 number 11 seeds, or two of the number 11 seeds. And we have 2 other 16 seeds, which is Appalachian State and Norfolk State. And then 2 number 11 seeds, UCLA and Michigan State. Now, in case you guys are wondering what this is, basically when they expanded to 68 teams, they decided that with basically what I'm trying to say is when they expanded to 68 teams, they also decided that at the same time that along with a final 4, we were going to have a first 4, like basically who will the final, like with the final 4, you get the 4 best teams, or what are considered the best teams in the land, if not in the tournament. And the first 4 are basically like, hey, you're in the tournament, but the winners have to go on to the main event, if you know what I mean. So again, you got that. You got those 4. And then this is how it's going to go. If we get the bracket here. So here's how it's going to go. On Friday, you got number 7 Florida against number 10 Virginia Tech. You got number 3 Arkansas against number 14 Colgate. Number 1 Illinois against number 16 Drexel. Number 6 Texas Tech against number 11 seeded Utah State. You got 2 seeded Ohio State against 15 seeded Oral Roberts. You got 1 seeded Baylor against 16 seeded Hartford. You got 8 seeded Lola Chicago against 9 seeded Georgia Tech. You got 5 seeded Tennessee against 12 seeded Oregon State. You got 4 seeded Oklahoma State against number 13 Liberty, against 13 seeded Liberty. Sorry about that. You got 8 seeded North Carolina against 9 seeded Wisconsin. You got number 2 seeded Houston against number 15 seeded Cleveland State. You have number 4 seeded Purdue against number 13 seeded North Texas. 7 seeded Clemson against 10 seeded Rutgers. Number 6 seeded San Diego State against 11 seeded Syracuse. 3 seeded West Virginia against 14 seeded Morehead State. 5 seeded Villanova against 12 seeded Winthrop. And then, like I said at the beginning, you have 7 seeded Florida, 10 seeded Virginia Tech against each other. 8 seeded Arkansas against 14 seeded Colgate, and 1 seeded Illinois against 16 seeded Drexel. And then the first 4, which is on Thursday, you got 16 seeded Texas Southern and 16 seeded Mount St. Mary's. 11 seeded Drake against 11 seeded Wichita State. 16 seeded Appalachian State against 16 seeded Norfolk State. Sorry about that. And 11 seeded UCLA against 11 seeded Michigan State. And then how that affects the first round is real simple, and we'll get into that in a moment. Let me get some coffee here. There we go. So this is how it works. Now, the first round after the first 4 is on the 19th, which is Friday. Those are the games I just listed off. Now, Now, the other first round, which concludes the first round concludes on Saturday, and this is the other games that'll happen. You got 5th-seeded Colorado against 12th-seeded Georgetown, 4th-seeded Florida State against 13th-seeded UNC Greensboro. You got 3rd-seeded Kansas against 14th-seeded Eastern Michigan, 8th-seeded LSU against 9th-seeded St. Bonaventure. Sorry if I pronounced that name wrong. You got 1-seeded Michigan against 16th-seeded Maine. Now, here's where it gets interesting. You got 1-seeded Michigan going up against the winner of the 16 seeds, Mount St. Mary's and Texas Southern. This is why it's expanded to 68. You end up having not 1 but 4 16-seed teams. No, not just 4, but you get along with the other 16-seed teams, I believe. Let me see. Yeah, you get the hold on, guys. Trying to make sure. Yeah, you get basically what you end up getting is you get 6 16-seeded teams and 6 11-seeded teams each year, I think. So what was I? Oh yeah, Michigan will take on the winner of Mount St. Mary's and Texas Southern as the 16th, as the official first round 16 seed. Number 5th-seeded Creighton takes on 12th-seeded UC Santa Barbara. You got 2-seeded Alabama against 15-seeded Iona. You have 6-seeded USC against the winner of the 11th-seeded first 4 matchup, Wichita State and Drake. So they'll take on USC, Wichita State or Drake, depending on who wins that. Then then you have number 2-seeded Iowa against number 15-seed Grand Canyon. You have 7-seeded UConn against 10-seeded Maryland. 4th-seeded Virginia against 8th-seeded Ohio. Or 13th-seeded, I should say, Ohio. Sorry about that. You got 4th-seeded Virginia against 13th-seeded Ohio. You got 8th-seeded Oklahoma against 9th-seeded Missouri, which is a Big 12 reunion match right there because Missouri used to be in the Big 12. Then you got the overall number 1 seed, Gonzaga, taking on the winner of the other 16th seed matchup, which is Norfolk State and Appalachian State. So you got the winner of that going up against Gonzaga, the overall number 1 seed. Then you got 6 seeded BYU against the winner of the other number 11, battle of number 11 seeds in the first four, Michigan State and UCLA. So the winner of that takes on BYU. Then you got number three. Then you got third seeded Texas against 14 seeded Abilene Christian. And then you got 7th seeded Oregon against 10th seeded VCU. Now, what's interesting about this, guys, and this is really kind of unique, is what's interesting about this tournament is basically the fact that it's all taking place in one state. Because of what's going on and everything, the NCAA decided that for this year only, it's going to take place in one region, in one state, and that being Indiana, mostly the Indianapolis area or something like that. And the places that have been chosen are as follows. You have Simon Assembly Hall, Simon Scroget Assembly Hall. I'm sorry if I pronounced that wrong. Then you got Mackey Arena. You got Hinkle Fieldhouse, Bankers Life Fieldhouse, which is the Pacers home arena. You got Indiana Farmers Coliseum, and you got Lucas Oil Stadium. Or Lucas Oil Stadium Unity. I guess that's what it's called. Let me see. Yeah, Lucas Oil Stadium Unity South, which is basically like a south part of the stadium where the Colts play. So the arena, the venues within Indiana again that have been chosen are Simon Skorot Assembly Hall, Mackey's Arena, Hinkle Fieldhouse, Bankers Life Fieldhouse, Indiana Farmers Coliseum, and Lucas Oil Stadium Unity South region. So that's what is going to be going there. And again, this is kind of a unique situation because, again, for any of us that follow the NCAA tournament, usually we're used to basically all the games taking place in one area. We're all used to it taking place in one area. My assumption, and this is what I'm getting at here, is I try to get a better look at the brackets. Let me see if I can get a better look at the brackets here, guys. Let me see if I can get a better look at the brackets here. Let me zoom in a bit. So, from what I could tell, is just by going off what I'm looking at here, it looks like the West. Yeah, it looks like the West and the East, the West and the East brackets. From what I'm going off of here, are going to take place at Hinkle Fieldhouse and Bankers Life Fieldhouse. From what I can sense, most of them. I mean, they will switch around. There's no doubt, but it definitely looks like that's what I'm getting here. That's the vibe. Because I'm trying to see here. Yeah, I think that's what they're going for. But then again, you got the other ones as well. So they're gonna intertwine, if you will. They're gonna intertwine, but that's the vibe I'm getting. You know, that's the vibe. That's kind of the vibe I'm getting here, guys. That's kind of the vibe as I print the bracket here because I'm probably gonna as I save the bracket. Well, I do have the bracket, but still, it's always nice to have another one. But that's kind of the vibe I'm getting here. But here's what's unique about it, though. Again, here's what's really unique about this, and this is why the topical question was, 68 team bracket official or is it? because something else that came to my attention, and it was basically curiosity that got a lot of people's, um, what got the curiosity of a lot of people. This is what we're looking at, and I don't know if if this is still what I'm trying to say. It's still in play. I don't know if it's still in play. But basically, this is what I'm getting. This is what Hold on, guys. I got a lot of things catching up to me right now. Okay, so this is from the Chicago Tribune. See, okay. So here's what's interesting about this. Again, it's not just the uniqueness of it's not just the uniqueness of, like the location of where the entire tournament is taking place, but it's also the situation that, everybody is involved in right now. Now, in case you guys don't know, both Virginia and Kansas had to pull out of the respective conference tournaments because they had positive tests of COVID with one or two of their players. Now, it does say that both teams, the Chicago Tribune, both teams should sound hopeful about being eligible for the tournament. Now, they said they were assigned to Saturday tip-offs, which gives them plenty of time. And it says they were assigned 7 Saturday tip-offs, giving them an extra day to provide the 7 days of negative test for players to compete. Virginia expects at least one player to miss the first 2 rounds. Kansas is planning to arrive in Indianapolis without 3 players, but coach Bill Self hoped 2 players could join the Jayhawks later in the week after negative tests, according to reports. Now, this is what's interesting. It says the NCAA is hoping to avoid further complications. Teams will be eligible to remain in the tournament as long as 5 players have tested negative and are available. If a team is unable to compete because of COVID-19, the NCAA designate. Okay. Oh, that was just the rain going on my window. Okay, what was I? Oh, yeah. It says here teams will be eligible to remain in the tournament as long as 5 players have tested negative and are available. If a team is unable to compete because of COVID-19, the NCAA designated the last 4 teams not selected for at-large bids as alternatives. After 5 p.m. Central Tuesday, the window closes and teams won't be be replaced. Let me reread that. Okay, let me reread this whole thing. I do know that sounds annoying, so let me reread this. The NCAA is hoping to avoid further complications. Teams will be eligible to remain in the tournament as long as 5 players have tested negative and are available. If a team is unable to compete because of COVID-19, the NCAA designated the last 4 teams not selected for at-large bids as alternatives. After 5 p.m. Central Time, which would be 3 p.m. Pacific, Tuesday, which is tomorrow, the window closes and teams won't be replaced. If a team can't play, its opponent advances. Players will be in quasi-bubbles and they're expected to stay in the hotel or arena to avoid infection. The optics Might be strange if a team competes with only 5 players, but if the NCAA can pull off a tournament without a team dropping out, it will be a significant accomplishment up there with the NBA's successful bubble teams. So, yeah. So, yeah, basically, that's what's that's an interesting scenario for any fan of the NCAA. Period. Basically, the fact that we don't know who the last alternative. Well, let me look at that. Let me look that up again. Let me look that up again, guys. Just so I don't mess up on this. Okay. Okay, so here are the 4 teams that Sporting News puts in a highlight. That is Louisville, Colorado State, St. Louis, and Ole Miss. Now, those apparently, from what I'm looking at here, are the last 4 teams not selected. Sporting News says Selection Sunday has unveiled this final 68 team field for the 2021 NCAA tournament. And as it is tradition, there were several teams that not only were disappointed in the scenes, but were also left completely out of the bracket. Until Louisville, Colorado State, St. Louis, and Ole Miss. The first 4 teams out of March Madness. And yet, a ray of hope for these teams still exists to participate in the NCAA tournament. Under the organization's new rules, any of those 4 teams could replace a tournament-bound team if that latter can't play due to COVID-19 issues. But it's not so simple. Here's everything. This is Sporting News. Here's everything you need to know about how Louisville, Colorado State, St. Louis, and Ole Miss can still make March Madness despite not being selected in the tournament. It said the NCAA on February 25th released several protocols to replace teams that can't play in March Madness due to COVID-19 issues. In particular, the first 4 teams out can still get in if a multi-bid league has a team drop out before 6 p.m. Eastern, which of course is 3 p.m. Eastern here. Not Eastern, Pacific here. 3 p.m. Pacific here. Okay. In particular, the first 4 teams out can still get in if a multi-bid league has a team drop out before 6 p.m. Eastern Time on Tuesday. Single bid conferences will select replacement teams that opt out, as the NCAA wants as many conferences represented as possible. The Ivy League will not participate. Okay. If a team drops out after that deadline, no replacement teams will be selected. The tournament game will be ruled a no contest, and the team that is able to play will advance. But if a team drops out before then, the NCAA will select from Louisville, Colorado State, St. Louis, and Ole Miss in the following order: Louisville number 1, Colorado number 2, St. Louis number 3, Ole Miss number 4. That means the Cardinals, one of the most notable snubs of the NCAA tournament, have first priority to make March Madness should a team back out before the Tuesday deadline. Teams that could potentially be replaced are Kansas and Virginia, both who exited their respective conference tournaments with COVID-19 positives. Both teams expressed confidence that they will be able to participate in March Madness, and no team contacted the NCAA prior to Saturday's 11 p.m. Eastern deadline to inform the organization it wouldn't meet its criteria to play. Regardless, Louisville, Colorado State, St. Louis, and Ole Miss will await word from the NCAA on whether they have selected to make the tournament or on whether they have been selected to make the tournament. In that time, said teams must have a minimum of the players produced 7 consecutive days of negative COVID-19 tests. Otherwise, they will be ineligible. If none of the 4 first teams out make it to the NCAA tournament, They will be considered number one seeds in the 2021 NIT tournament. It's worth noting, however, that Louisville has already formed the NIT and won't participate, meaning the 2021 basketball future relies entirely on if it can sneak into the NCAA tournament. Its 2021 basketball's future relies entirely on if it can sneak into the basketball tournament. So, what does that mean basically? Well, as I said, Louisville has top priority. Colorado is second. St. Louis is third, and Ole Miss is fourth. So, for example, as they put out, if Kansas and Virginia have to opt out again due to ineligibility of COVID test and all that, then Louisville and Colorado State would be the next two in. But let's say fortune smiles and there's four teams in the tournament that have to opt out because of COVID-19 related issues. Oh, let's say the athletic directors and board at the school or universities saying, nope, we're not sending our students, we're not sending our student athletes there, we're not getting them affected, they're opting out, we're pulling them out. If that was to happen, if four schools were to do that, then the four teams out would be in. So there is still a slight, I would say, 25, I would say a slight 50% chance, or 20, not actually 50%, but a slight 25 to 30% chance that Louisville, Ole Miss, Colorado State, and St. Louis could get in all at the same time. I mean, again, for example, let's say by some crazy reason, one of the number one seeds is out. Then let's say for some other crazy reason, one of the number three seeds is out. And then one of the number fours and one of the number twos. These four teams could swoop in and say, hey, we're the new number one, we're the new number three, we're the new number four, we're the new number, two, stuff like that. They could swoop in and do that. So, looking at this year's tournament, it's going to be one of those tournaments where you're like, just when you think you know something's going to happen, that's when fate smiles upon those you don't expect, and they show up. I mean, let's take a look at the NCAA football season this past year. A lot of college teams backed out. The athletic directors of all these schools pulled their teams out of bowl eligibility, and thus no teams could represent a conference in a bowl game. And along with what was going on, that bowl game got canceled. And you don't think that pissed off a lot of these players? Of course it did. Of course it pissed them off. Because they lost a chance at getting that big exposure that they've been wanting to get. Of course they're pissed off about it. They want that exposure. But now, they got to look back at this past season and be like, well, we didn't get it. Oh, well, that's not good, but we got to deal with it. We just got to live with it. And they do. They just got to live with it. There's nothing else they can do about it. But anyway, that's kind of a similar situation that you're getting here. And excuse me for a second while I do something. Just checking something. Yeah, just checking something. Because when I bounce up a little bit, it goes down. I'm sure a lot of you that have these kind of chairs know that. But like I said, you kind of see the similarity here. And that's basically that if any school has to be opted out, either because of COVID-19 positive test, or maybe because the athletic board at the university is like, nope, we're not risking our student players, our student athletes, getting sick or anything, so we're going to pull them out, then not only will those student athletes miss out on an opportunity to perform on a big stage, but also they will miss out. But also at the same time, I should say, fate will unexpectedly smile on one of the four teams that have been, left out, which is either Louisville, Colorado State, St. Louis, or Ole Miss. And again, if by some miraculous reason, four teams in the tournament, no matter what the seeding is, has to opt out because either the student athletes some of the student athletes tested positive for COVID, or the athletic committee at the school says, nope, we're not risking our student athletes getting sick, and they decide to pull them, then those 4 schools that go that route, not only are they basically, like I said, taking away an opportunity from the student athletes, but at the same time, they're allowing, you know, they're allowing that light at the end of the tunnel to become brighter and more real for the teams that were, left out of the tournament, which were the 4 that we just mentioned. So yeah, this is going to be an interesting tournament. If you're into that, if you're into watching the NCAA tournament, this will be an interesting one to look out for. And I'm sure the same is going to be applied to the NIT tournament for both men and women, and the same is going to be applied for the women's NCAA tournament when its field gets announced later on today. So, the question is to me, my question to you guys is, what are your thoughts on that? What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts overall on that? This whole situation. Do you think it's a smart move by the NCAA to add in this stipulation that if a team has to opt out, they have till tomorrow to do it, so a replacement can be put in? What are your thoughts? Let me know in the live chat and in the comments later on down below. But yeah, it's one of those. But again, just like with college football, this is a postseason to really keep an eye out for, because because in the postseason for college football, everybody thought there were certain bowl games that were possibly there was still a possibility of happening, but then we see that they don't, and here we are. But let me know what your thoughts are. Let me know what your thoughts are overall on all that. All right, next up, number 3, animated show pilot rewrites done by fans. Are they done better? Yes, you heard me right. Animated show pilot rewrites done by fans. Are they done better? And what I mean by that is, recently in the past couple of weeks, I've been asked to look at a couple of, I guess you could assume them to be rewrites by fans of pilot episodes, or the first couple of episodes, if you will, of an already established show that aired back in the 90s and the early to mid 2000s, and basically look at what their take on it is. And honestly, from what I've seen, from what I've read, I actually like it. I actually like what I'm reading. I'm actually liking what I'm reading and seeing here. The first one I want to talk about is called Sonic's New World. And basically what I'm reading here is, it's kind of like a take on, it's basically like a retake of Sonic X. It's kind of like a fan's rewrite on Sonic X, but more adapted to be like a hybrid of Sonic X, Archie Sonic, and Sonic SatAM all rolled into one. And then on top of that, in addition to hybriding some of those elements into this, version of Sonic X, if you will, they're also basically acknowledging real cities. They're acknowledging real towns, real cities, real states. And I like it because there's like one scene of one chapter in Sonic's New World where it's basically based off the, I think, what is it, the second or third episode of Sonic X, where Sonic is rescuing Cream from this facility. And instead of Cream that he's rescuing basically it does involve him going after Cream, but I think it's also involving him helping Mina Mongoose. I have to go back and look at it again. But yeah, they got Mina Mongoose in there as a character. So from what I've read so far, like I said, it's definitely a good blending of both, not of both, but of all 3 Sonic elements, X, X, Archie Comics, and SatAM. So I really like it. And again, on top of that, I like the idea that they're implementing, real life cities and towns, instead of just like, here's Station Square, here's South Island, here's this, here's that. And instead, they're implementing real towns. Like one of the towns they talk about, I'll mention, in here is Boston, Massachusetts, which I like. So it definitely shows you that fans, when given the opportunity to kind of rewrite something, from an established IP in their image or how they see it, can implement not just other elements from other portions or other different interpretations of said franchise, eyes and said character, or that involves said character, I should say, but they could also, implement reality like real life, like real towns and all that. And I kind of get that vibe, maybe influence, a little bit of an influence coming out of maybe Sonic, the Sonic live action movie. Maybe I'm not really sure, but that's what the vibe I'm getting at because they're mentioning Boston, and in Sonic's live action film, you have San Francisco as like a main, main area of the movie. So it's interesting. It's really interesting, and like I said, it just shows. This to me is just an example of how much fans can truly contribute to a franchise and the fandom involved to a franchise's fandom by creating their own interpretations or rewriting their own interpretations of an original pilot for a series. Original shows a pilot, if you will, mostly an animated one, as they see it, because again, they're using elements from the original pilot, the original first couple of episodes, but they're also adding in some differences or adding in other characters and influences and hybriding it all together into one ultimate version of what they're adapting from. And it's Sonic X, but it's dubbed Sonic's New World. So it looks really good to me on that one. And then another one that recently got introduced to me was Bonkers, just called Bonkers, by Jacob Lee. And Bonkers basically, and this is again, this is something that I got to give fans of all kinds credit for, because Jacob Lee here, and he's not the only one that's done this. Others, I have seen others do this as well. Others have done this as well. No matter what the animated franchise is, based on whether it's an original IP or based on an IP or whatever, a lot of fans will basically take their time and they will create an actual script. That's right. They will create an actual script. They will use a script software, whatever kind it is, Hollywood screenwriter or whatever. They will use an actual script software and create their own script on what they feel a story based on featuring said character or whatever characters or whatever franchise should be like. And in the case of an animated show pilot rewrite, Jacob Lee does just that. And what he does is basically he takes basically what was started, or what we saw, I should say, in the two-part Going Bonkers pilot, the Going Bonkers 45-minute mini movie, if you will, a mini movie pilot. He takes that and he expands on it. He takes it, to another. I'll put it this way: he expands on it, and he does things with it that you know you wouldn't think they would anybody would probably do with an adaptation of Bonkers of any kind. But what he sent me though was basically a movie script, a potential movie script that I believe he can successfully. And this is my honest opinion. He can successfully submit to Disney, and they would probably okay it. They would probably greenlight it and okay it, but on the condition that certain wording has to be taken out, certain characteristics have to be modified, and certain other characters have to be replaced by original characters because certain characters belong to other studio IPs, if you know what I mean. But besides all that aside, I could see something like this potentially being greenlit by Disney. I could, because what he's presenting here is basically his own movie adaptation of the origins of how Bonkers became a cop. But what he's doing is he's actually taking something that I thought about before. I've thought about this before, and obviously I'm not alone in this because it seems that he, along with many others, have thought about this too. And that is the fact that when you watch the original Going Bonkers pilot, and as Bonkers and his friends are walking on the sidewalk in the rain, after all the friends are captured by Mr. Doodles, the main pilot villain's minion, which the main villain is the Collector. The last two remaining are Fawn and Bonkers. So what he's doing is he's taking that concept of, okay, what if Fawn and Bonkers became the cops? What if Bonkers didn't become a cop alone? What if Fawn was a cop, became a cop along with him? And it just goes from there because he basically goes in that direction. Now he doesn't. Now here's the thing about movie adaptations, and obviously he knows this to be true the way he's written this so far. And I've read it and I got to reread it. But from what I have seen, basically the way he's adapting this, because like I said, he's seen obviously how movie adaptations are, especially if they're adapting an origin of an IP that pretty much differs from the original origin that it was given. But basically, what he's doing is he's giving a reason for not just Bonkers and Fawn being, for Bonkers being replaced, but he's doing it in a way that's very, I guess you could say Roger Rabbit inspired. But since Disney does own the IPs to some characters that do show up, it makes sense. So basically, he's doing it in a way to where it's Fawn and Bonkers that get ejected first. Like they're the first ones out. They're gone. They're history. I mean, everybody is fired. I mean, everybody, just like in the original pilot, the original pilot story is fired, from the jobs and replaced by somebody else. I'm not going to tell you who it is. You got to read this guy's movie script if you really want to see what it is. But they're all fired from their job, just like in the original. And basically, what happens is Bonkers and Fawn get into a confrontation with the ones replacing them, and it basically leads to Bonkers and Fawn being the ones ejected out of the studio first, and then the others follow suit later on their own. But the way this is done is you basically have both Bonkers and Fawn driving around, trying to figure out what the next step is going to be, and then they basically encounter not one but several muggers going after Donald and two other classic Disney characters. Let's just say they were the iconic couple for the past 80 plus years or 90 plus years. Is it gonna? Oh yeah, it's gonna be 90. Hold on. Hey Google, when did Mickey Mouse and Minnie Mouse debut?
1928. On the website CNN.com, they say, like any loving couple would want, Mickey and Minnie shared their big screen debut together in Steamboat Willie in 1928. Every year on November 18th, they get to celebrate their birthdays together. To find out more, look for the link in your Google Home or Google Assistant app.
There you go, 1928. So basically, they celebrated 90 years, believe it or not, 90 years 2 years ago or 3 years ago. So it's going to be 93 years. Yeah. And I just gave away who that couple was, didn't I? Anyway, though, yeah. Donald, just like in the original pilot, is confronted by a mugger, but it's a group of muggers who are not just confronting him, but are confronting Mickey and Minnie. And Bonkers and Fawn notice this, and they basically leap into action. They leap into action to do the right thing, to basically do the right, to do a citizen's arrest, or at least attempt to. And long story short, this leads to them basically, becoming cops, just like Bonkers became a cop in the pilot, in the original pilot. Same thing with them here, but it's done in a different way that kind of follows, in my opinion. And again, Jacob Lee, known as New Jersey Artist, knows this as well. it basically follows in a way that you would expect a movie adaptation to probably follow. Like it basically takes inspiration from the original source, but switches it up a bit and goes in a different direction to where it's identical but and similar but different. So so yeah, so far this story, I like I said, I read it once. I got to reread it again, and just to see if I missed anything. But so far, this again, this is just another example of how fans within a fandom can really help elevate, a franchise and its characters and other IPs involved, even after the original show or run, the original, or after I should say, the original show's run is over. So yeah, this is just a good example here. And then of course one of the other bigger examples I can tell you about is of course my Disney fanatic and the fact that she, did the Bride of Discord and Daughter of Discord. And again, what more can you say except if you haven't watched those, here on YouTube, you need to watch them because they're really, really good. They're really, really good. So I would definitely suggest checking them out once you get an opportunity to. But again, these are just prime examples in my opinion. So I would recommend checking out Sonic's New Worlds. I think that's what it's called. As well as if you can get in contact or find a way, check out the Bonkers movie script by Jacob Lee, New Jersey artist, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. It's really good, really good. All right, guys, I'm going to be back in a moment. I got to get myself a little something to drink, not just this, but a little something more. Be right back, guys. Okay, guys, I'm back. Sorry about that. Get, like I said, get some water there, and as well as basically check the mail as well, and just turn on the heater for a second because even though it says 48 degrees, it says it feels like it's 43. Yeah, it says it's a. Yeah, we have one of those Xfinity touch screens in the house, Comcast Xfinity touch screens, and tells us not only the time and everything, and helps us set the alarms and all that. but it also gives us the temperature, and basically it says, oh, it's 48 degrees. But when you switch over to the next screen, you kind of like do a swipe, if you will, like the swipe on the screen. It says 48 feels like 43, so it's 5 degrees. Basically, it's 45, about 43 degrees outside. Store branded. Let me check again, make sure everything is working right. Okay, everything's working good. But anyway, now on to our next topic here. And our next topic is WWE wants to pack WrestleMania with 75% capacity of fans for both nights of this year's WrestleMania. Now, in case you guys haven't been in case you guys don't know what I'm talking about here, WWE this year is going to be able to have fans in attendance, unlike last year for WrestleMania. Now, originally this year, WrestleMania was supposed to be here in California, in Inglewood, California, at the new SoFi Stadium. But unfortunately, that's not going to happen due to protocol and all that, due to restrictions and everything. So instead, they're going to make it up to Raymond James Stadium in Tampa Bay, or to Tampa itself at Raymond James Stadium, because it was supposed to be at Raymond James last year. So to make up for that, they're going to do it this year. And then instead of making up California's due date or scheduled date next year, instead they're going to go to Dallas, Texas, try to probably set another world record or another attendance record of over 100,000 plus. They're going to try to do that, but then the next year in 2023, I should say, that's when they're going to end up going to SoFi Stadium, because I think what WWE wants to do, those that are scheduling this, in advance, is they want to make sure every safety precaution is taken care of, everything is up to standard, everything is good to go. Now, as far as this year's goes, WWE, like I said, they're going to make up for last year's WrestleMania, being a pandemic edition, basically being what's the word I'm looking for? A closed set edition. So they're going to make up for that with this year's Mania being at Raymond James Stadium. But here's the thing. When they first announced this was going to happen, the original plan was to get at least 25 to 30% capacity of fans. Basically around, for both nights, on average, possibly 20,000 fans, and that's it. That's it. 15,000. Well, basically, on average, about 15,000 to 20,000 fans, which would accumulate combined nights to 30,000 to 40,000 fans for both nights. But now that vaccinations have been rolling out more, and places like Florida and Texas and all of them are saying, hey, we're going to lift restrictions, we're going to lift mask mandates and all that. Now WWE is looking at the opportunity in front of them of saying, okay, if you're going to do that, Florida, instead of 25%, let's go 75%. Let's go all the way. And that's what they want to do. And this decision has really, in the eyes of a lot of wrestling fans and even some sports analysis, if you will, has come really under fire as of late. Because it's like, wait a minute, whoa. It's like, because to them, it's like, whoa, WWE, wait a minute. Are you sure you want to do that? People might still be infected. You might want to take your time. Go back to that 25%. That's a little bit better. There's a lot of people that are looking at this sudden I guess you could say, determination on WWE to be like, hey, if they're allowed to have so many people, if well not allowed, but if they're lifting the restrictions and giving people more freedom, then you know what? Let's go all the way with it. Let's try to pack that place as much as we can. And excuse me, and 75% of that, on average, is about 45,000 to 50,000 fans per night. Yeah, they want to pack Raymond James Stadium for the 2-night event with 45 to 50,000 fans per night. And why? Because they want to make sure, and this is mostly a Vince McMahon thing, I think, they want to make sure they have the biggest public attendance in the U.S. since this pandemic happened. I mean, that has always been a Vince McMahon deal. Not just a WWE deal, but a Vince McMahon deal. Why? I give you 20 years ago this September. Yeah, I know that's hard to talk about, but I give you 20 years ago this September. 2 days after 9/11, WWE decided to hold SmackDown live in Houston. First large attendance crowd since the attacks. And even though it was the right thing to do to get people's mind off what happened, a lot of people still argue, even to this day, that they could have held off. They could have done something different. But no, Vince wanted to be the first one to have a crowd. That's what he wanted. And sorry, my thing went off there for a second. When you have it on the WordPad for a bit, that goes off. I guess the computer decides it wants to go into rest mode or something. But yeah, Vince McMahon, even though he could have, and a lot of people still argue this, could have waited, held off for a while. He wanted to, wanted the company to be the first ones to have a big crowd. And yes, like I said, it was to help people get their minds off what happened. But still, it's like you could have waited. But nope, he wanted to make sure not only did he want to get people's minds off what happened, but he also wanted to make sure he was the first one to get a big old crowd, in attendance since what happened, since the 9/11 attacks. And that's the same thing here. Even though we're a year into the pandemic, we're getting towards the finish line of being out of it, he wants to make sure he's the first company, the first organization, the first entertainment or sporting event of any kind to have a large crowd, even if it's a combination of 2 nights. And again, this is where a lot of criticism gets drawn into, because it's like, well, wait a minute. Are you sure you want to do this, Vince? Are you sure you want to, make this a reality? Because, people, there are still going to be people by the time WrestleMania comes around that have yet to be vaccinated. Are you sure you want to rush into this? Do you want to take your time, do maybe 50%? You sure about this? You should be you should think this. Think about this. Think about it. There's a lot of people that are talking about this, criticizing it. They're basically coming out and saying that this is not a good idea. That the 25 to 50%, if not 25 to 30% capacity, is the best solution. You want crowds, you want fans in there, that's fine. But don't try to overdo it too soon. Because if you try to overdo it, all you do is risk doing a relapse of the whole pandemic, and we're back to square one again. And that's what people worry about. That's what they worry about, and they don't want to worry about that. They don't. So a lot of them are like, Vince, are you sure you want to do this? Because if you do this, you're risking everybody's lives. You're basically putting a lot of people in danger. You don't want to do that. So we'll see what occurs, but it looks like right now WWE wants to get the largest crowd, attendance crowd in history, not in history, but in the United States since the pandemic happened. Since the pandemic happened, even if it means having a combination of 45 to 50,000 fans per night, which means they would have a capacity of which means they would have a combined attendance of 9,000 to 100,000 fans. That's a lot more than NASCAR had in Daytona, because that is the only larger crowd that we know about. So we'll see what happens. But again, this is coming under a lot of controversy, a lot of criticism. And if I'm Vince McMahon and I'm WWE, I do start to reconsider that maybe this is not the best solution just yet. And I don't want to worry anybody. I don't want to bring my company under any more fire than it is. That maybe I should just take a step back and say, okay, we'll do 50%, which I think would probably be the better solution, but we'll see. But let me know what you guys think. What are your thoughts on Vince McMahon and WWE wanting to get about 75% capacity attendance, for both nights of WrestleMania this year? What are your thoughts? Let me know in the live chat as well as in the comments below. All right. Next topic. Speaking of capacity, this is one that I think is an interesting one to talk about and ask. And that is, will we be near 100% capacity, or will near 100% capacity be possible by the 4th of July? Now, we know that Texas, we know that Mississippi, and I think Florida is getting close to it, have gone or going towards, or just about ready to announce 100% capacity. In other words, 100% freedom. Basically, no more mask, no more anything like that. Back to normalcy, back to normal life. This is a good question to ask of, will near 100% capacity be possible by the 4th of July? What I mean by that, basically 100% capacity, I'm talking 100%, free of mask and everything, and 6 feet restrictions and all that. Will we be at that point come the 4th of July? And like I said, Texas already has gone to 100%. We know not Ole Miss, but Mississippi's going to 100%, if not already. We know Florida, as I just said, is about close to that, and we know other states are working towards that, probably quicker, I should say, than a lot of people think they should or believe they should. But now the question is, will we as a country be 100% capacity by the 4th of July? Because Joe Biden has said that he wants to make sure every adult American is vaccinated by May 1st, or to the end of May or something like that. He wants to make sure all of us are vaccinated. And what I'm getting out of this, and the wording, at least I'm getting out of this, or the belief I think I'm getting out of this when it comes to Joe Biden, is he wants us all to have a summer. He all wants us to have a summer of normalcy. That's what I'm getting at. Oh, that's not what I'm getting at, but that's what I'm here. That's what I believe he's trying to get at, and that's what I'm understanding. Is what I'm trying to say. That's what I'm understanding, is that he wants us to have a summer of normalcy, and he wants us on this country's birthday, the 4th of July, to celebrate a return to normalcy at 100%. He wants that. I believe. I'm not saying I believe it, but I feel, and from what I'm understanding, by him saying he wants us all to be vaccinated by May, it looks like his intended goal is for us, like I said, to have a summer of normalcy, and by the 4th of July to be all of us, the entire country, at 100% capacity, of no more mask, no more restrictions, free to go back to the way things were. Theaters open, with 100% attendance, stadiums open with 100% attendance, stuff like that. He wants to make sure, obviously, from what I'm understanding, that becomes a reality. But the question is, will it be? Will it be by at least the 4th of July? And the way things are going right now, depending on who you believe and who you listen to, it looks like we are, and I hate to say, and I hate to agree with the guy. I hate to agree with, people like, I hate to agree with Biden or Harris, despite what they say, because again, even with political figures, presidents or vice presidents or whatever, no matter where you live, governors, whatever the case may be, mayors, you don't know what to believe when it well, you don't know what to believe even when it comes out of their mouths. You don't know what is the truth or what's just something to kind of calm the nerves or calm the storm, if you will. But right now, as much as and I'm sure a lot of people hate to say it, he does have a point. It looks like we are on track to probably get to that point. But will we be? Because there's still a lot of people that are saying, pointing out that not a lot of people, but there's still a lot of people saying that there are still too many risks to take into consideration. With spring break going on and this Easter break going on or coming up, there's too many risks to take into consideration of what will, of what could still potentially be. It was like relapse and all that potentially could happen. But again, it's a good question, and you know, not and his thing, we not a lot of us will agree, with what he says. You know, a lot of us will come out and say that he's full of hot air, that he has early stages of dementia. That the real person pulling the strings is Kamala Harris. That they're taking credit for something that was the previous administration's ideas and stuff like that. And yet what's coming out of his mouth, no matter what you believe, eve eve is true or not, is something that you kind of have to in a sense agree with, that we are on track to possibly making that happen. And I think honestly that's his intended goal. That's his and his administration's and Kamala Harris's, and I'm sure all the governors, whether we like them or we don't, whether they're in agreement or not, that's the intended goal, to get us, to a point that the summer will be COVID free and we'll be able to get back to normal. But we'll see, because there's a lot of events that, because of COVID, have been rescheduled or canceled for 2 years in a row. Like I said at the beginning, BabsCon here had to be canceled again till next year for physical attendance. Not saying that we probably won't get another online virtual event, but still, it's been canceled for another year. The one event that me and my family look forward to every year, but got canceled last year as well, is the Apricot Fiesta in Patterson. And depending on what happened, it may or may not occur. But if we get to that goal, which he wants by May to happen, then there's a good chance it may occur. But it may have to happen maybe in the first week or midweek of June. Who knows? But the point is, but the question is, though, is it still a possibility? Is it still a possibility that by the 4th of July, we could be at a 100% capacity as a country? And I think we can be. I think it's a possibility, as long as we keep on track on what's going on. Just like he said, as much as a lot of us may not like to agree with what he says because we don't know what to believe anymore, as long as we're on track, we should be good. But we'll see. I mean, if if you got one of the biggest states, despite the criticism, opening up at 100% capacity, along with another state alongside it, and another following suit, and others following suit, then I think it's a possibility that by the time we get to the 4th of July, we'll be pretty much back to normal. I really do. But we'll see. We'll see what occurs, because, again, if his intention, if what I'm understanding, along with the rest of us, if his intention, from what I'm understanding, is to have us back to 100% normalcy by America's birthday, then as much as we may not agree, may not like, what he has to say or believe who's really running the ship or whatever, he does have a point that right now we are on track to make that happen, but we shall see. We shall see. But what do you guys think in the live chat? What do you guys think about, whether or not us being at 100% capacity come the 4th of July? What are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments as well as in the live chat. Okay. Next up, number 6, Miss Piggy. Next on Cancel Culture's hit list? Yeah. So, in case you guys don't know by now, and I'm sure you do, Pepe Le Pew, for the time being, it was nice knowing ya. That's right. Pepe Le Pew is going on indefinite hiatus from Looney Tunes until, for the time being, until this whole thing with cancel culture and all that blows over. We know that cancel culture, along with the SJWs and the Karens, just like with Pepe, got on the whole Lola Bunny thing and basically said she has to be redesigned and stuff like that, which she was. And it wasn't just, the cancel culture people, the SJWs and the Karens, but it was actually the new director behind the scenes that was behind, Pepe being removed and Lola being redesigned and stuff. But now, alongside that, it seems the Looney Tunes are not the only ones in the crosshairs of the cancel culture SJWs and Karens, but so is Miss Piggy. Yeah. And here's what's crazy. It's not just cancel culture that's saying this. It's not just cancel culture. Well, members of cancel culture and the SJWs and all that and the Karens that are saying this. Oh, no, 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 no. It's not just them. But it's critics that don't like the idea that Pepe got removed because of something that, yeah, is nowadays is seen as being wrong, but as Warner Brothers and Disney have all done with a lot of the classic stuff that came out in the 40s and 50s and all that, they put a disclaimer before the cartoon saying this stuff wasn't appropriate then, it's not appropriate now. And those people are basically trying to fight back saying, okay, so if you think Pepe should be removed because of his actions towards Penelope, you know what? Maybe Miss Piggy should be removed as well. Maybe Miss Piggy needs to go bye-bye too. Huh? Yeah, let's have Miss Piggy go bye-bye. And again, it's not just cancel culture. It's people that criticize cancel culture for getting Pepe the boot, if you will, put on hiatus indefinitely, that are saying, hey, you guys want to cancel Pepe, why don't you cancel Miss Piggy? Or you know what? Why don't Miss Piggy get canceled too? She does similar stuff. And if not more physically violent, in a sense. And it's like, and again, all you have to do, and all you do is just, all you do is just put your hand on your head, or your hand on your eyes, and you're like, seriously, this is getting ridiculous. Have you guys not heard of the fact that the fictional characters? I mean, here's the thing. Here's the thing. Miss Piggy does not do what Pepe did. Well, in the beginning, yes, she would. But in time, guess what's happened? Kermit has returned her feelings. And oh, by the way, the Jim Henson Company has also revamped her character so that it is more with the times. Yes, there's still that relationship with Kermit that fans like to see because they are basically like the Mickey and Minnie of the Muppets. But guess what? They've also, like I said, changed her up so that when it's needed, she'll be more acceptable with the times. And this is just ridiculous, man. It's ridiculous. And you know what? You think Disney's going to be like, really? You want us to retire her? Are you out of your mind? She's one of the most popular characters out of this franchise we bought. We're not going to get rid of her just because, oh, she hit Kermit. She's running after Kermit. She's too violent. It's like, again, you put your hand on your eyes and you're like, oh, this has to stop. Literal. I mean, to be honest with you guys, this really has to stop because this is dumb. It's stupid. It's dumb. It's unnecessary. And look, if you don't like Miss Piggy, then don't watch the Muppets. That's all you have to do. You don't like Pepe Le Pew, don't watch the Looney Tunes. You know, you don't like Lola Bunny and the way she looked in Space Jam, don't watch the first Space Jam. Seriously. That's all you have to do is just not watch it or pay attention. But you know what one news article said? And I read this when I was doing my follow-up on the Pepe thing. We have been quarantined for far too long that now we're starting to take notice of things that we didn't notice before, especially if you're part of certain, groups and all that. And it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous, guys. I mean, honest. I mean, seriously, canceling Miss Piggy. Again, I can understand the whole. Okay, Pepe should have been canceled a long time ago. It should have been revamped and revised for modern times a long time ago. I can understand that. We can accept that. But Miss Piggy is a character that, guess what? Disney and the Jim Henson Company has revamped. They have modernized for the times and has had basically her more acceptable and reasonable than she was in the past. That's the whole point. I mean, they put up. I mean, look what they've done with the Disney. Look what they've done with the Muppets. Okay, they have put the Muppets behind a wall on Disney Plus. You have to be an adult with an adult account to watch the Muppets because of some of the things they show. And just like with some of the movies, animated movies, if you will, that they've put behind that same wall, they have a discretional warning. They have a discretional warning for the entire show. Basically stating that these were the things at the times, they were not acceptable then, they're not acceptable now. So why get on it now? It's ridiculous. And the way I look at it, and I say this with all due respect, no offense whatsoever, all due respect and no offense. But I truly believe this whole council culture, SJW thing, I know it's been going on for a lot longer than even I could imagine. But I guarantee it's not going to be as rampant, it's not going to be as noticeable or in the news as it is now because of this whole COVID situation and pandemic situation. I guarantee once we get back to normal, this whole cancel culture thing, it'll still be around. The SJWs will still be around. The Karens will still be around. But anything they want to get rid of will not be as prominent or noticeable or newsworthy as it used to be, or not used to be, or used to be, but or as it is now, because of the fact that basically we'll be all out and about, and we won't be having to worry about anything else like this for quite some time. And hello, Wild Hops. Thank you for joining. But yeah, this whole let's cancel Miss Piggy deal, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. I mean, I'm glad Wild Hops is here. I'm glad Wild Hops is here because one of the movies we both like is Zootopia. And it's like if cancel culture wanted to come out and say, "Oh well, Judy Hopps shouldn't be a cop because she's too frail. She's too frail. Or she's too manipulative. Her and Nick shouldn't be, shouldn't be the main stars of Zootopia because they're too manipulative. Or Gazelle shouldn't be in there because she's too sexualized and all that." Seriously? Seriously? If cancel culture, the SJWs and the Karens were to do that, you know what Disney would do? Disney would basically be like, "Oh, you got to be joking us. That is the dumbest things we've ever heard." It's the same thing with Miss Piggy. Miss Piggy, in her past incarnations, yeah, did some things that were questionable, but that's why they put warnings on the Muppet Show now. Because what she did then was unacceptable, and it's unacceptable now, which is why they modified her. They reprised her. They rebooted her in a sense for the modern times. And again, like I said, it's like if somebody looked at Gazelle here. So I hit the mic cord there. Hopefully I didn't. I knocked my thing down though. But it's like Gazelle here. It's like if somebody said, "Oh, Gazelle's too sexy. She needs to be modified, or she needs to be redesigned, just like Lola Bunny." Or they looked at Judy Hopps and said, "Again, oh, Judy's too manipulative as a cop, and Nick's too much of a bad influence. They need to be remodified. They need to have the personalities changed." And it's like, again, Disney would look at that and be like, "Are you serious?" They would be. They'd be like, "Are you serious?" Because that would be the dumbest decisions ever made. And hello, Wild V Penguin and Transin Fan. Riddle V Penguin and Transin Fans. Nice to see you guys here. And again, for those that have joined, super chats are open if you choose to donate. And again, check out the Patreon at patreon.com/bwroses. $1 tier for helping out, get recognition like New Jersey Artist and Mandu. And $3 tier also get recognition like New Jersey Artist and Mandu, but also get exclusive content you can't get anywhere else. Basically, more unfiltered, uh, videos on what I've subtly talked about before in the past here on a public basis on YouTube, but you'll get more of an uncut, more detailed version of that with those videos. But getting back on topic here, it'd be like basically that happening, and it's ridiculous. It is absolutely ridiculous. I mean, you know what? And I'm mentioning this, and I'm mentioning cancel culture. You know who was a victim of cancel culture? And everybody loves this character. And everybody's hashtagging for her to be included in the mobile games and possibly Sonic Prime. Sally Acorn. You know why? See that? See that? That's Sally Acorn with the vest that she's known for in Sad AM. Guess what would happen in the comics of Archie Comics? That. That happened. She got a vest and shorts. And even though Ian Flynn said that was her intended redesign when the soft reboot or after the Mecha Sally thing was originally done, we all know the real reason. We all know the real reason that cancel culture basically got to her and said she's naked. She needs to be covered up. Really? Did you not see her original designs? And again, this is why I talk about cancel culture going back a long ways. Because it was the parental groups and cancel culture in its infancy, I believe, that got, Deke Entertainment and Sega and ABC to say, put a vest on her for the second season. It's like the dumbest decisions. Like it's like some of these it's like the dumbest decisions being made by companies and studios are all because cancel culture and those involved can't accept the fact that some things were of their time. And that there are disclaimers out there now. There are disclaimers. So Hopefully Disney doesn't take this seriously. I don't think they will, because yeah, they'll put up they'll hide their. As I adjust my seat here for a minute. Yeah, they'll hide basically some of their animated classics behind walls, and only make them accessible by adult account access and all that. That's fine and everything, but I don't think they'll get to a point to where they'll take an iconic character like Miss Piggy and say, "Yeah, what she did in the past is unacceptable. She's got to go." No, they'll just say, "Hey, we put a warning up. That should be good enough. Move on." So I don't think, honestly, she's going to get canceled. I don't think Disney's going to do anything, because honestly, there's a big difference between what she's done and what Pepe's been known for. Big difference. Big difference. So anyway, on to number 7. And number 7 is really interesting. And I kind of briefly talked about this when I did my video on Paramount Plus, and if it's worth getting, which it is. Number 7, all 90s Sonic cartoons are on Paramount Plus. That's right. If you're a fan of Adventures, Sonic SatAM, or Sonic Underground, all all shows are on there. All episodes are on there. The only thing that has to be fixed, and hopefully they do this, is the episode order. That's right. Now, Adventures, I'm pretty sure that's not going to be a big deal unless it's towards the end. And but basically that's what I said. Adventures. Well, and that's some rain that just started to come down. We have a big old gray cloud. Oh, so if you hear anything, that's the rain. Sounds more like hail. Hold on for a sec. Sorry about that, guys. The way the rain came down sounded like a little bit of hail. May have been. Because, like I said, the temperature is 5 degrees colder than what it's initially at. But like I said, the only thing that needs to be fixed and everything with the Sonic cartoons on Paramount Plus is the fact that the episode order is kind of out of sync, if you will. And let's see. Let's see. It's just a Trains fan is showing me a quote from Jawbreaker Play for Cinema. And hello, Nintendo 45 Nat Geo. And again, guys, super chats are open if you want to donate that way. So it's patreon.com/bwroses. $1 tier get you a shout out like New Jersey artist and Mandu, as well as and that's just for helping out, helping to expand the brand, helping me out there financially. And the $3 tier again gets you recognition, shout out for just like with New Jersey artist and Mandu, but also gets you exclusive video content you can't get anywhere else. More unfiltered, uncut video content more detailed of what I've talked about very subtly here on my YouTube page and, from a public standpoint. So there you go. So there we go. Anyway, getting back on topic here. Like I said, all 90s cartoons are on Paramount Plus as we speak. As I was trying to say, the only thing that's kind of an issue, if you will, is the structure of the episodes, the episode structure. Uh, Mostly for Sonic Sat AM season 2 and for Sonic Underground and certain episodes there. So it's a bit of an episode structure that has to be fixed a little bit, but I got a feeling that in future updates they'll be doing that because when you watch, because here's the thing, Adventures I think's all right because most of it's non-continuity, if you will, except for like the final few episodes, which is the Emerald one. They go back in time. I'm with that one. But with Sonic Sat AM, mostly season 2, yeah, the episode structure is way off because they got Blasted Past Part 1 as the first episode with the wrong air date. And then they got the Doomsday Project, the last episode, as the eighth episode. So they definitely got a lot to work on. They definitely got a lot to work on, episode structure wise. But yeah, if you are a fan of Sonic the Hedgehog, the animated Deke Entertainment cartoons from the 1990s, then you're in luck. The entire all see all the entire all three series, the entire run of all three series is on Paramount Plus. Like I said, the only thing that needs to be addressed and needs to be fixed is the structuring of the episodes, if you will, for the second season of Sonic Sat AM and throughout Sonic Underground through certain portions of that. Mostly the first couple of episodes, from beginning, basically the beginning saga, the beginning 3-part saga, and the Chaos Emerald saga that had Knuckles make his second appearance on the show. So those are the only ones that basically need to be structurally fixed. But after that, everything else should be fine. Like I said, season 2 of Sonic Sat AM definitely needs a lot of structuring, needs a lot of fixing. Because, like I said, you got Blasted Past Part 1 as the first episode, then you got Part 2, like a couple of episodes later. And then the eighth episode is Doomsday Project, and then Cry of the Wolf is the last episode. It's like, yeah, they totally need to fix that, and hopefully they will. You know, so so anyway, anyway, but anyway though, like I said, basically all the Sonic cartoons are on there, and if you are behind hashtag Rally for Sally to get her into the mobile games, to get her to be part of Sonic Prime, the new Netflix series next year, as well as possibly make her get that after credit or mid credit scene appearance at the end of the new Sonic live action CGI film coming out next year as well. If you're about that, you're doing the hashtag Rally for Sally deal, make all that happen, then this is perfect timing for you because, like I said, Paramount Plus has the SatAM series. But like I said, season one's fine, but season two definitely needs to be restructured episodic wise. But yeah, all the '90s Sonic cartoons are there, guys. So if you want to check out Paramount Plus, they are up. They got the $4.99 option with ads, and they got the $9.99 option with no ads, which is pretty much the one I would recommend you guys choose if you decide to go with Paramount Plus. Anyway, with that said, let's get on to our eighth and final topic here, and that is the DuckTales season finale that airs today/tonight, and basically what to expect. Now I know a lot of people are disappointed that DuckTales is ending. It is definitely a great series. It's done. I'm gonna give the people credit for this. They took this, very established, very popular IP, basically reworked it and said, what if, especially throughout the show, mostly hinting at at the beginning with the first season, and then going all the way up to this one. I got to give the show creators and all that a lot of credit, because they basically took, like I said, this established, very popular IP and reworked it to the point of where they asked the question, what if DuckTales existed in the same universe as Rescue Rangers, Tailspin, the Wuzzles, from a past, timeline, the Gummy Bears, stuff like that. They had Bonkers in there somehow, and all these things. And I have to say that what they've done so far is brilliant. It is absolutely brilliant. I mean, the fact that they make this version of DuckTales take place 20, I would say 20, 30 years in the future of the Tailspin timeline. They do. Because it's established in that episode that Hire for Hire was founded when Kit and Molly were still kids, and now they're grown ups. So obviously, I like the idea that they took that, they took part of that question and answered it by saying, what if Tailspin and DuckTales were in the same universe? Oh, I know. DuckTales takes place 20, 30. This version of DuckTales takes place 20, 30 years later. And by doing so, Kit Cloud Kicker knows who Della is. So, let's see what we got here. But yeah, basically, it's established that Kit knows who Della is. So that by having, like I said, reworking this Ducktales to be in a universe where Tailspin exists, but it's 30 years, 20 years in the future of the 1990s Tailspin, I think is brilliant. And basically, it kind of, in a sense, is a real time scenario. I mean, the original Tailspin was like what, 30 years ago, and now it's 30 years later. Who knew? I'm just saying, 20, 30 years later, it works. I think it really works. So overall, though, overall to me, these creators did a fantastic job in bringing all this together. And now tonight is the finale, and it's a 90-minute deal, taking a page, as I've said before in a video, taking a page out of MLP, of course. Because we all remember MLP had that 90-minute finale in 2019, which ran back to back, if you will, in prime time. I think it did like 3 back to backs, I think, or 2 back to backs. It did basically the premiere, then it did another, then it did an encore, then it did Decade of Pony Deal, then it did another encore, and then it went into reruns of the final episodes of the final season. Then it did some Equestria Girl stuff, and then it did 2 back-to-back encores of the finale. I should know because I DVR'd and eventually DVD'd all of them, if you will. That being the finale. But yeah, you can obviously tell they took some inspiration from that. It's called The Last Adventure, and it's gonna obviously focus. The first part's gonna focus on Webby, and it definitely looks like what they're giving away is the fact that we get to May and June here, or is it April and June, or one of them? And it's already established through some clips that they know who Webby is. Oh no, it's May and June, and it's established in some clips that were released that they know who Webby is. And the fact that they're looking at all this stuff around them when they get locked up in this room, and it's like, well, what is this? What's that? And then they see Webby show up, and they know who she is. So obviously, what this tells me is Webby is a clone. I think that's obvious. I think that's been obvious to a lot of us that Webby is a clone. that Webby is a clone, or at least that's what they're hinting at, because May and June are like, well, what's this and that? So either Webby's the original and May and June are her clones, or something's going on, and we'll find out more in like several hours or something. So yeah, that's basically part of it, and I guess it's going to be like the heart of it, or at least the first part of it, and then we're going to get into the whole foul situation down the line. As the rest of it progresses. We know Goslin and Darkwing Duck's getting involved. I think we're going to get Kit and Molly. We're going to get Don Carnage, it looks like. I'm not really sure. The Rescue Rangers may show up. We'll see. But it's going to be interesting, as we get towards this finale and to see who's involved, who's a part of this, and how everything, concludes at the end. But yeah, I think I mean, honestly, I expect a lot to happen. Like I said, well, obviously, like I said, we're going to get Goslin and Darkwing Duck. I expect, I expect the secret that May and June are clones of Webby, or Webby's a clone of them, or something like that. Well, basically, they're all clones or something. We're going to find out that secret. Or I would assume April and June, or May and June are her clones. So we'll find that out. And again, I think we're going to get, of course, Darkwing and Goslin. We're going to get the Rangers. I believe they got to show up. We're going to get possibly Kit and Molly, because you're going to have Don Carnage in there, it looks like. And we'll just see what happens. We'll just see what occurs. I mean, obviously, we'll also get Gandra D back, because apparently I think Fenton is going to find out that, she's been taken away, and, that he's going to have to rescue her. So we're going to get a lot going on here, but basically what I expect in the end is a lot of stuff. I mean, they did hint that a lot of questions we want answered will be answered, and some that we didn't know we wanted answered will be answered. Um, and overall, I think we're going to get a decent conclusion. Now, on top of the finale, just like with the MLP finale, it's going to get encored. But unlike the MLP finale, it's going to be 24. It's going to be a 24-hour repeat. So when it debuts, after it's done, it's going to just constantly repeat and repeat and repeat and repeat for 24 hours. So it's going to be an interesting ride, if you will, going towards that. Um, but yeah, it's going to be an interesting ride going towards that, and I can't wait to see what they do. Again, again, obviously, we're being hinted at that there's a clone situation going on with Webby, May and June, and that Webby her real name might be April. Um, there's obvious the situation that we're going to find out what Fowl's true intentions are and everything, because one of the things they wanted to get their hands on was the stone of what was. So there's a lot of things going on, a lot of scenarios to play in. We're going to find out obviously more about Beakley and what her connection to all this is. Again, we're going to have Darkwing, we're going to have Goslin involved. I would assume, like I said, Kit and Molly got to be in this, as well as as well as the Rescue Rangers, because if you're going to bring them all in, you got to have them involved somehow, in the finale. So we'll see what they do, but it's going to be something great. It's going to be something interesting. I know people are going to be talking about it and tweeting about it, and hopefully it gives them a more satisfying finale, and it gives them more of a satisfying finale, and answers the questions they want answered more so than they thought WandaVision did. But again, have to wait and see what happens in the next several hours. But it's going to be it's going to be something. It's going to be really something. I mean, if the Tangle finale is anything to go by, then we're going to get something really good here. We're going to get something really, really good and really interesting, and something that's going to get people talking. It really is. Um, but yeah, can't wait to see what they pull out of their hat and how they wrap this all up in the end. I can't wait. You know, but yeah, that's about all I could say on it. As far as the question that was asked, did I see Hell of a Boss yet? I've seen it a little bit, and it looks pretty good for an independent cartoon made. Hey, that's free here on YouTube. I think it's pretty good. Um, I think it's pretty good, and honestly, I think they could do more with it. I think if they want to really expand on it, make it more gaggly or funny. I think this is the show with that wolf girl in it. If I'm right, it's the one with the wolf girl. If it's the one with the wolf girl, and obviously they're setting something up with her and some other male wolf character or male character. You want to make it funny? Have her do the lustful melt gag. Have that wolf character who seems to be part gothic, but whatever. Have her do the lustful melt gag and melt into a puddle of gray and black or whatever, you know. And basically have a melt into a puddle where you just see her face is on the puddle, and then she basically has to get reformed, or she reforms herself, or something like that. I think you do that, and that'll be something nobody would see coming. But yeah, I think it's a good show. So I think it's a good start. I think it's a good little independent series, and hopefully it might get picked up. Has Been Hotel got picked up, and I thought that was all right at first. But Hell of a Boss, yeah, I think it could be something, something to look forward to. I think it's got the potential. Has Been and Hell of a Boss got a potential to be, big phenomenons in the future. And I think, you know what? Inevitably, if they're by the same studio, if you will, the same people, Visibop, obviously you got to get a crossover there. You got to get a crossover. So, yeah. But yeah. Besides that, I think Hell of a Boss is good, and I think Has Been Hotel, once it gets going on its new network, as well as possibly re-uploading the episodes that premiere there on the new home on YouTube down the line, I think it'll also be good. But again, you got to get that crossover going. And I think if you give the main character that what's her name for Has Been Hotel, the one that runs it, if you give her as well as the wolf, the wolf, the wolfish character, the wolf character, the female wolf character, and hell of a boss. If you give the Has Been Hotel girl that runs the place and the girl character the opportunity to do the lustful milk gag, I guarantee you that'll make things. I guarantee you people won't see it coming, but it'll definitely show that you never know what kind of gags they might throw in there just for the heck of it, for for potential visualness of how that character feels when they see somebody. So I think it's got potential. I really do. But what do you guys think? What do you think of them possibly adding that in there for one of those two characters? Let me know what you guys think. But with that said, though, guys, I'm gonna close up shop here for this edition of Topics on My Mind for today, March 15th, 2021. It's my first, of course, Topics on My Mind live stream with my new setup behind me that you've seen in the room tour. New bed, new bed, new everything, if you will. All got it from Target, and like I said in one video, if I'm FedEx and UPS, if I'm all delivery services, including United States Postal, I get my act together and I make sure that when I'm scheduled to get something to somebody on a certain day, I get it there on time, no matter what the situation. So, yeah. But anyway, though, guys. I just want. But anyway, though, guys, that's like I said, that's going to do for today. Thank you for those that join me in the live chat. Really appreciate it. Again, check me out at my Patreon website at patreon.com/bwroses. $1 tier will get you a shout out and everything for helping me out. $3 tier will also get you a shout out for helping out, but also get you exclusive video content you can't get anywhere else, where I will get more into depth of what I've said subtly, very subtly here on YouTube on a public level, but I will do it more exclusively, unfiltered and uncut for the Patreon supporters of my Patreon page. And that's $3 a tier if you want that exclusive content. And just to let you guys know that if it does succeed, if I get more supporters at the $3 tier or even the $1 tier, I might consider doing a $5 tier of an exclusive Q&A for Patreon supporters only. So help me. So there's your, I guess you could say your motivation to try to support me at Patreon. I would really appreciate it. And if you could do that, also check out my BW Roses Discussions podcast, which this will be a part of down the line very soon at anchor.fm/BW Roses, as well as at your other local favorite podcast locations like Amazon Music, um, Apple Podcast, Spotify, Radio Public, iHeartRadio. You name it, it will be there, except for Pandora. I'm still working on that one, and hopefully that'll be an issue I will be able to I'll be able to fix in the next couple of weeks or something down the line. But again, thank you guys for joining. Really appreciate it. Hope you all have a good day and everything. Thank you all for watching. And yes, I can imagine the scene, the reaction that Sally would get if she showed up in a mid post credit scene. Trains, I could. And as far as Funko Pops go, Nintendo Geeks 45. I have the Money Incorporated WWF ones given to me by my sister, as well as I have the Funko vinyl figures of Celeste of the main of a lot of the MLP characters as well. But again, guys, thank you all for joining me. Take care. God bless. Get yourself vaccinated when you get the opportunity. Eating everything. And I will talk to y'all later. But again, just to get back to Nintendo's question about Hell of a Boss, I think both them and Has Been definitely need a crossover once that all gets straightened out and everything. And I think the girl that runs the hotel and on Has Been Hotel, the main girl there, and the Wolf girl in Hell of a Boss, I think when the opportunity presents itself, and hopefully they have considered this, if not already done it, they will put them in a situation where they will perform the lustful melt gag, which is basically a character melting into a puddle of goop and then reforming by themselves or having somebody reform them from that puddle. And if you want a good example of that, check out Moon over Minerva of the original Animaniacs cartoon, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. But again, guys, thank you all for watching. Really appreciate it. And again, check me out at patreon.com/bwroses. $1 tier will get you a shout out for helping me out there. $3 tier will also get you a shout out for helping out, but also get you exclusive video content that you can't get anywhere else, where I would publicly subtly talk about things, but in the Patreon exclusive, I will talk about that kind of stuff unfiltered and uncut. It won't be public. It will be only to the Patreon exclusive people that help me with the $3 tier if they go that way. And again, if both tiers are successful enough, I might consider doing a $5 tier for Q&A in the future. As well as check me out at my BW Roses discussions on anchor.fm/BW Roses, as well as Amazon Music, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Radio Public, and all the other places except for Pandora, which I am still working on. So until then, though, guys, God bless. Take care. You all take care of yourselves. Have a good rest of your day. And I am out.